So, as we continue hoping that the government of the Republic of Zambia and the family to the late 60th Republican President, Mr. Edgar Chagwa, will come up with an amicable solution regarding the repatriation and burial of our former Republican President who died in June, and we are now in October. I hope we can learn a few lessons from our friends in Kenya. Now, first things first, condolences to all our friends in Kenya and to all Kenyans regarding the death or on the demise of Mr. Raila Odinga, who, according to my research, has been one of Kenya's prominent politicians, and not just a politician, someone that had an opportunity and a privilege to serve Kenyans as prime minister. And obviously, previously, before his death, Mr. Raila Odinga has been fighting or pushing to be president of Kenya at some point. Probably something that he will not achieve because now he's dead. Now, for us as Zambians, I feel like there are lessons that we can learn regarding Mr. Raila Odinga's funeral as we wait to bury our former Republican president. Now, I do not expect everyone to agree with me. This is just my personal opinion. Okay? So, according to what we've heard, Mr. Raila Odinga wanted to be buried within 3 days. Okay? That was his wish. That's what we've been taught. And yes, that has happened. Now, there are a few things that happened during his funeral that I feel we must get lessons from and maybe understand why certain things are happening the way government wants them to work out in Zambia. I'll give you an example. This here is Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. And this is the plane that carried the remains of Mr. Raila Odinga from India, where he was actually being treated back home in Kenya. Now, the public, obviously from the video, made their way to the airport. And they made their way to the plane. Now, I want you to get me clear. It's not like everyone was supposed to get closer to the plane. These people found themselves at the airport, but they overpowered the police officers and the people who were offering security and found their way illegal to the plane. Not all of them, some of them. Now, after the body obviously was gotten, there was some confusion with some people wanting to get closer to the coffin itself, like this guy, crying and taking a selfie. Now, I remember that when the first program, our former Republican President Zambia, came out, there was a program Buino drawn where the body will arrive, but it was not open to all members of the public, right? Yeah, only a few invited people were supposed to get to the airport. Unfortunately, that brought debate in our country with people thinking, no, what do they want to do with the body? What and what and what and what. Now, I'm just seated here after seeing this chaos here in Kenya, and I'm thinking, since we haven't buried yet, if let's say, for example, we allow, or the government allows, the entire general public to go to the airport to receive the remains of our former dearly departed 60th Republican President, can we contain the pressure that will come with the handling a large crowd like this? Our friends in Kenya failed, and this was the result. Other people found themselves getting on the plane. Now, this was just a prime minister. We're not talking about a former president and somebody who wanted to get back to power. Obviously, we can't run away from the fact that President Edgar Chagwa commanded a very large audience too. So, if we say government allows the entire general public to go to the airport, I can only imagine the chaos that would be there. And so maybe at first I was like, maybe Boma Ivi Koshachab. But after seeing this chaos, I'm like, oh, maybe, just maybe they were right. This needs to be controlled. What happened later? Obviously, they took the funeral to the stadium. And what did we end up seeing at the stadium? I do not have the facts, but there was chaos, and the police officers had no option but to fire gunshots and tear gas canisters. Unfortunately, some people died. Now imagine Mulida, but other people end up being killed at a funeral. That's why at this point, honestly, if you ask me, this is a lesson in disguise. Yeah, we may be different people, but my emotions once. And I'm just thinking that maybe yes, certain things have to be controlled. Yes, he might have been our former Republican president. Our emotions may be different when his body arrives, but I know that if the government just said, okay, do your thing, we may be bringing problems. And you know, the police officers also will not just sit at no guide boma kama utishitani bene mufuna. So the role of the police is to ensure that law and order are maintained. And that's why to some extent I feel like maybe some of us just overreacted to think that maybe government was just being selfish, or they were trying to do anything when they made those restrictions. Maybe they just anticipated something like this. I'm just thinking aloud, and it is my opinion. You may agree with me, you may not agree with me, and I respect that. But I just felt like this was a lesson for us as Zambia, even as we continue hoping that government will reach an amicable agreement with the family. Honestly, our friends have done it within 3 days. Ours from June, July, August, September, October. This is the 4th month. We don't know if we're going to get to November. We don't know if we're going to get to December. We don't know if it's going to get to next year. But one could only hope that maybe, just maybe, we can find a solution as quickly as possible and let our president rest.